Hello and welcome to Box and Ballers. It's Ben here, and today we're going to chat about a massive talking point in boxing. I don't know if you woke up and saw the videos on Twitter, the stuff on YouTube as well. It all kicked off over in the States. It kicked off in the ring quite dramatically, and we're lucky to be joined by Fraser Coffeen from Bloody Elbow. He's a writer on all things boxing, MMA and kickboxing as well. Fraser, as I said a second ago, safe to say it kicked off a bit last night, didn't it?
It did, absolutely. It was the Anthony Dirrell Jose Uzcategui fight, and ended in a disqualification from a late punch after the bell that Uzcategui hit Dirrell with. Dirrell couldn't continue. The fight was ruled a DQ, and ended in kind of a shoving match outside of the ring, and ultimately one of Dirrell's cornermen, actually his uncle, sucker punching Uzcategui, and last I heard, he is now wanted by the police and is going to be arrested and charged with assault. Yeah,
I've seen Uzcategui has filed a police report. I've seen the letter. I think a journalist has leaked it online. I know things also happen outside the ring with Dirrell's brother as well, Anthony Dirrell. We'll come back and talk about that in a second. But first of all, let's just quickly hit on the fight. Would you say Dirrell was losing that fight, as many others would say? Would you say Dirrell was hurt going into that round anyway? And also, would you say it was a DQ? Would you say that was a deserved would you say it was a deserved DQ?
It's hard. It's a really fine line. Yeah, I do think that Dirrell was losing, not massively so, but I think had the fight continued to play out, my money right now would be that Dirrell would have walked away with a loss. But you know, he wasn't terribly behind. The fight ending shot that came after the bell, it was hard. On the one hand, it was definitely after the bell. On the other hand, it was a part of a combination that Uzcategui was already pretty committed to. So there you say, well, he's in a combination, so maybe it's not intentional. But he had also landed a shot after the bell earlier in the fight, in a previous round as well. So, you know, 2 out of your 8 rounds end with you landing a shot after the bell. You know, it starts to become a little bit of a pattern that I could see. I think had it happened just that one time and that one time alone, and that was it, I would say probably let's go with a no contest. Dirrell seemed too hurt to feasibly just go ahead and let the fight continue at that point. So maybe a no contest would make sense. But given that it happened before, I think you're right on the edge of a DQ no contest. I'm not going to get all bent out of shape about it being a DQ.
I mean, I've seen the earlier punch after the bell as well, which was blatantly after the bell in the earlier rounds. Did he have, because I haven't seen the full fight back, did he have points taken off him, Uzcategui, for that punch? Was there anything made out of that?
No, a warning, but not
just a warning. See, then maybe the automatic step from the second one should have been maybe points deducted and not straight away a DQ. Other reports coming from the crowd at the time, apparently Dirrell's team was telling him to stay down and not to get up. Of course, this isn't the first time Andre Dirrell has been known for doing this. So would you say that they've played to get the disqualification there, as they knew he was losing the fight as well?
It's interesting. That's certainly a report that I have heard. And like you said, Dirrell does have a bit of a reputation for this going into the fight. He had a very similar incident happen with Arthur Abraham. The interesting thing there is people still do hold that against Dirrell, the Abraham fight, the previous one, even though he did suffer some pretty severe damage from that fight. And I think the question is, was that damage that he suffered in the Abraham fight before the punch? Was it the punch itself? So much like Uzcategui making it the second punch, and that kind of maybe tips the scales a little over to DQ, I do think in some people's minds the fact that Dirrell is doing this for the second time maybe tips the scales over into a little bit of a performance aspect. I can't say for sure. It's you know, I don't think anyone but Dirrell and his team know that for sure. I think he was most definitely hurt. It's just a question of how hurt was he by that one punch versus how hurt was he by all the punches leading up to it.
Yeah, no, that is true. And then the other report I've got to hit on and talk to you about, Fraser, is that apparently, I don't know how well you know this, Dad, but apparently Uzcategui also doesn't speak a word of English, so he wouldn't have heard the referee's 5-second count, which refs do in the ring after the bell. Do you know if there's any truth in that? Do you know, because it was the second time that he threw a late one, do you think that English could have told a story? I mean, I don't know the fighter that well to be able to comment. I don't know if you do.
Yeah, I don't know him that well. I don't have any evidence that he does indeed speak English. I would hope that there were provisions made so that when the referee warned him between rounds after the first late shot, that there was a translator on hand who would be able to convey the referee's warnings. I would hope so. Yeah. We didn't, distinctly see that happen, but I would, I think kind of at that point, if you as a fighter don't speak English and you don't have anyone in your corner who can convey the instructions of the referee, that might be your fault at that point.
Yeah, and to be fair, any good coach surely would turn around and tell his fighter, if the referee says something to you in the ring and it's after that bell's gone, then it's probably the 5-second count because you've just had the 10-second bell warning. So surely he should know what that is. Moving on from that anyway, let's go to the melee on the after fight. So from what I saw and from the clips I think everyone else has seen worldwide, we see Jose Uzcategui with his hands as fighters do at the end of the fight, but behind the ropes, arms behind the ropes and standing in his corner with one of his team members next to him and one of the Dirrell camp go up with no gloves on whilst obviously he stood with his hands behind the ropes, no chance of him defending himself at all, punching him twice, once clean around the jaw, the other time on the neck. Who is this guy? And was there confrontation beforehand, or was it simply he ran over to Uzcategui and threw a couple of punches at him?
It's definitely not the latter situation you described. You would almost feel like it was more justified if it was. If this was, the late punch had landed, Dirrell is still on the ground, a guy comes in, he runs over, he punches. Not that justifies it, but you kind of get it, heat of the moment, passion, all of that kind of thing. This was a solid 2 minutes after the round had ended, after the late punch. Things in the ring were heated, but it was not the sort of chaos of the moment. A solid, I would estimate about 2 minutes had passed. There had been some action outside the ring, which we could talk about in a moment, but inside things had kind of calmed down. The person in question there, that was Leon Lawson Jr. He is one of Dirrell's cornermen. He also happens to be Dirrell's uncle. And he went over, did not charge over. If you watch, depending on how much of the punch you see, you can see he's kind of engaged in conversation with Uzcategui's cornerman himself. And the two are talking, and then sort of out of nowhere, he just launches on him and lands a very clean left hand on Uzcategui, right on the chin. I was actually they made mention of this on the broadcast, but you kind of had to be a little bit impressed by Uzcategui's chin to not just completely crumple from that shot right there. It was a nasty, very significant shot. But I think it's that aspect that there was time, that he came over, that he was talking. Their talk wasn't even a heated talk. It looked like sort of, two cornermen discussing what had just happened when he threw the punch. And that made it I feel like for a lot of people that escalated the kind of gravity of it.
So, Fraser, you were saying he wasn't Leon Lawson Jr., Dirrell's uncle, who threw the punch at Uzcategui, wasn't even having conversation with the fighter. He was having conversation with the cornerman.
Correct. Yes, he was looking. Wow. He was looking at the cornerman. Uzcategui is just like you said. He's back on the ropes, sort of taking it in. Again, I'm not sure that his English would have allowed him to participate in the conversation.
Wow. Even Leon Lawson Jr. has got really dodgy eyes, and he can't see who he's talking to, or something there was completely unrevoked. And Leon Lawson Jr. You said that he is Dirrell's uncle. Is he part of any coaching camps, or is he, you say he's one of his cornermen, is he part of the coaching team at all?
He is, yes. He's part of the coaching team. So he's not just a sort of family man hanger-on there. He is indeed he is indeed a coach and was working the corner.
Okay, well, surely now, obviously, well, we'll see what happens with in terms of the eyes of the law, but in the eyes of the boxing law, that's a lifetime ban without a doubt, and never allowed near a ring ever again, surely.
I would think. I mean, like you said, it's escalated now to the point that it is not strictly a boxing issue; it is a legal issue. Yeah. Uzcategui has filed a police report on this. As of late last night, the Maryland police, where this took place, were looking for Lawson, who had somehow, in the course of this whole process, he got out of the ring and potentially the arena. They could not find him, and he was. Again, I'm not sure if this has changed in the last couple of hours, but the last I saw is that he was wanted by the police and would be arrested at that time. So this is, elevated past a state athletic commission issue into a police issue.
And elevating it even higher as well. It's not just his uncle involved. It's not just Andre involved. It seems that something's happening with Anthony Dirrell as well. Some videos have leaked online. We don't know exactly whether they're true, whether this has been escalated further. His fight with Callum Smith may be called off because of it. There's going to be a massive fight over in America. Callum Smith, one of our lads, is coming over to fight Anthony Dirrell for the WBC title. But if he was found guilty of any... I mean, what have you heard that's happened here? He's thrown a punch at a commissioner, is what we've heard online. This was, to put this in the timeline here, this is after the DQ, but before the Lawson punch. So in the gap between there is some sort of scuffle outside the ring. Not very clear what was going on the Showtime broadcast, but since video has emerged where you do see Anthony Dirrell trying to get into the ring, he's blocked by someone who appears to be a state athletic commission representative. Mm-hmm. Again, it's not 100% clear from the video. And Dirrell gives him a hard shove, not a full-on Lawson sucker punch. It was a push.
Again, it's video's not great, so it's not it's not super clear, but it seems to be a quite hard push. I would certainly say laying your hands on a state athletic commissioner, that may or may not escalate to a police issue. It probably depends on what that particular commissioner, if that is indeed who it was, if that person chooses to pursue it or not. But certainly I would have to imagine that it would be a discussion regarding his license and regarding what the athletic commission, what steps they would like to take.
All in all,
and so I would say that the Smith fight is in serious jeopardy.
I was going to say, what an awful night for the Dirrell family. What happened? They've just lost their heads, haven't they? All in all, they've lost their heads.
Well, on the one hand, yes, they lost their heads, all kinds of terrible things. The very strange upside to all of this, though, is that as of right now, this moment, Andre Dirrell did win the fight by DQ, and he is indeed the mandatory now for James DeGale. Yeah. So will the upshot of this be Andre Dirrell versus James DeGale? It might be.
And then, just to push it even further, Anthony Dirrell still currently has a WBC title to fight for with Callum Smith. So it's actually going all right for the Dirrells right now. Well, apart from one of them, we could say. Fraser, let's end on a high note, shall we? I want to ask you about someone who's highly rated in America, who we sort of know of if you're a big boxing fan. He came over here and really wowed the UK crowds. It was nice to see Floyd Mayweather as well in the press doing what he does best and hyping up a fight. Gervonta Davis, what a win for him. What style. What an incredible young boxer we have here.
Yeah, he is fantastic. He looked great. I was on board the Davis hype train for a little while, but I have to say, I did not expect him to be quite so dominant in this performance. I expected Walsh to give him more trouble, and he really steamrolled him. It was very, very impressive. A great performance, and really, he's one of those sort of sky's the limit. You need to watch this guy kind of fighters right now.
Yeah, fast speed. But hard puncher. He also has very quick feet. He looks like he's got good energy in the box as well, and he looks like he picks his rounds very, very nicely. He always said it would take me 3 or 4 to get Walsh out, and it did take him 3 or 4. However, the rumours now, not the rumours, let's say, the press hype now, he's the new Floyd Mayweather. He's going to go on an unbeaten run, and he's going to stick with that unbeaten run. Is he that good?
too early to say, and that's such hard pressure to put on a fighter. But I think it's an interesting comparison to Mayweather, and obviously because he trains with Floyd, that's a comparison that's going to come up. The thing that is nice about him, though, is that if he is a new Floyd Mayweather, he's a new young Floyd Mayweather, the Floyd who knocked people out, who fought, to stop guys, to hurt guys, not the sort of later era Floyd who fought to protect his record and was a defensive genius, but was not out there stopping fights. As we see, Davis is a guy who puts people away and puts them away seriously. So I'm not sure I'm ready to christen him the next Floyd just yet, but I don't see a whole lot of holes in his game just yet to point out either.
Yeah, this is being taped, Fraser. Don't commit to anything because it will always be there for someone to come back to. Let's just quickly, I said we'll end on that, but it'd be great to just quickly get your prediction for Brooke and Errol Spence Jr. How do you see that one going?
Fantastic fight, but we are in just a blessed with a great bevy of fights right now. It's been fantastic. I'm extremely excited for that. And I must apologize to you over across the pond there, but I'm going to go with Spence in this one. I think it's razor close, but I just think he has that extra special spark that he too is a sort of future like all-time great in the making. So I think he'll take that one, but it is close, and I would not at all be surprised to be wrong. I don't feel confident in that pick.
As you say, we're blessed at the moment with the boxing. Yeah. We're blessed with all the fights that are going on and the content that it's bringing as well. Fraser Coffeen from the Bloody Elbow. You can go and check him out and go and check out Bloody Elbow as well. They've got some great publications on there. Fraser, thank you so much for coming on. It's been amazing chatting to you.
Thank you very much. I'm really glad I could do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Fraser. We'll catch up with Fraser again soon. We're Boxing Ballers. Make sure you subscribe right now, as we'll have more content soon on the biggest talking points in boxing and football. Ciao for now.